Lake Narrowly since it's in my ward.
Yeah,
I'll declare. I don't know why though.
he swims in it every morning.
Well, it's in.
Were you declaring an interest in Lake Naroto, or are you going to?
No, Robert. Well, I have been on there, so.
And it'll be coming.
I do sit on the council.
And it'll be coming to council.
So,
Yeah.
It's not telling you about leaving my microphone off. I think I've just done the whole lot without it on. Kirsty's just nodding, going.
We can hear you very well.
Yeah.
Thanks, Angela.
Okay.
Kia ora, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to update you. We've kind of aware that we hadn't been across to update the community board. We went along to the Cambridge one, and likewise the Cambridge Community Board. No bias. We hadn't really updated either community board, so we thought we better get on our chuffs and get out and let you know what's been happening. It's over a decade now that we've been open over there and at the velodrome there in Cambridge. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a bit of an update on the decade, I guess, that we've had, or 11 years now, since we opened with Princess Kate and Prince William. Big occasion back in, it was April 2014, so 11 years ago. And then Miff will talk a little bit about what's coming up. So we've got a new project on the boil. You probably heard a bit about it, perhaps the Sports Hall of Fame. It's gone through a couple of iterations, and we're going to give you where it's going, and we're going to start working on that project in the next few months. So firstly though, the 10 years that we've had, I'll hopefully be able to work this. We've been counting the visitors through the velodrome over the past couple of years. We've got counters on the doors and upstairs, and we're getting over 200,000 visitors, which we're really happy about. So, and 80% of those plus are community visitors, and that compares across the various. We've just sort of had a look through the annual reports of Waipa Council, and you've got your aquatic centres. I think there's 147,000 through the Cambridge pool, which is great, and the one here in Te Awamutu, about 130 something thousand. The Te Arawai obviously was a project that's been sort of on the boil for a number of years, and that was projecting about 80,000, and so on down to the libraries and the museums, etc. We don't have the Don Rollins one there in the domain because that's not recorded. Obviously, people come from all directions, so that could well be up there. But we're really pleased to be over the 200,000 visitors every year through the velodrome. Just over the 10 years, we've hosted 3 World Cups. We're now a UCI satellite centre. We do hundreds of different events in there, not just cycling. We get a lot of media coverage, and the branding is very much along the Waipa Home Champions theme. And we get a lot of tourists in there. We've got the Riverside Adventures, and they do kayaks and cycling tours. We've got Te Awa Cycleway right next door. We've got the cafe, so it's really a very vibrant sort of an environment, as opposed to a lot of velodromes around the world that are kind of pretty dead unless there's actually a big event on. There's 120 people working in the building. In terms of economic impacts, we estimate about a $15 million annual benefit to Waipa, and that's based on the original economic impact assessments, which are obviously 10 years old, 12 years old now. Of 11.5 million, and that's through the staff, the salaries, the events, the track events, overseas teams coming in, and so forth, and the OPEX through maintaining the building, which is not a cheap building to maintain, I might add. It's about a $70 million building now. If we were to build that today, it cost about $30 million back then. In terms of popularity, we've got nearly 1,000 new memberships over the last 12 months. So we've really pushed hard on that, which is up 54% in the gym. We've got a trikes program, which is really popular, and a school under 18s membership. And then we're now pushing hard into the school. So obviously COVID was pretty difficult for a lot of sports, as you know. And Te Awamutu Cycling Club's a really big user of the facility. My kids are members of the club, and I was a member until I got too old and tired and got spat out the back. But they're over there a lot with Melinda and the crew in the velodrome. So a lot of popularity with the road riders. And that's just a bit of the press that we've been getting over the years. In terms of, how we compare as a cost, to the ratepayers and to the council, well, actually pretty well. It's a $30 million facility. We got $1 million from Waipa back in 2012, which, is only about 3% of the cost of the building. And we've had no funding through the whole 10 years from council. We've done it all through the rents and the sponsorships and the user pays fees. And of course, it's a pretty big building. It's a big energy hungry building, a lot of maintenance. So we're pretty pleased to have cost the ratepayers zero over that 10, 11 years. And you compare that to the pools, and we just had a little look there, for example. I'm a regular swimmer in the pool there in Cambridge. In fact, swam this morning with 3 of my kids, or one of my nephew and 2 of the kids. So we go 2 or 3 times a week, and love it there. And it's a great facility, but it does cost about $9 per visit. That's the unrecovered revenue, because you pay your $8, and it costs about sort of $18 per visitor. So it's 1.3 million a year, and of course there was a $20 million from the ratepayers to go in there. So when you compare that to the 1 million in the velodrome, it's pretty good return for the district when you look at that economic impact. And of course the TRY is just a proposed one, but of course that was going to be $17 million or maybe $17 million of district investment, council investment, and an annual cost of $2.5 million to the ratepayers. So when you compare those sort of three, you can see that the velodrome is actually a pretty good investment for the district. And just looking at, and it's just a bit of a rundown. There's actually about $7,000 or $8,000 we get in a discount to the rates that the costs the ratepayers versus $8 million on reserves and all the other pools, etc. 4.8 million on the pools. So it's great that we've been able to do that for a decade now without leaning on council. As I mentioned, it's more than a velodrome. We've got the Baikuru, we've got the Riverside, we've got Te Awa Cycleway, which I'm also chair of that trust with Sarah Ulmer, and we've had some support from council early on. That's now getting over 400,000 users across on the cycleway through the 60. We've got 7 counters along the trail. So that's real data that we have. It's about 700,000 or 800,000 counts. So we estimate 350 to 400,000 users on the cycleways, which is fantastic. And we're now putting some artworks on there. So that goes right past the velodrome. And we're now looking to reposition it to do more broader sports than just cycling. And Miff will talk a bit about that in a moment. And this is where I do hand it to you, Miff.
So example of what branding might or could look like in the future is up in front of you. So the Waipa Arena is an option, and you can see the W there is on it, bit of an angle to look a bit like a podium.
And this is really just reflecting where we want to go with the velodrome to widen the whole net to more community events and other sports. So the use inside the velodrome at the moment, if you go in on any particular day, you might see Olympic cyclists going around the track. You might see, when I left, we had Cambridge High School going around the track. We have our trikes program for the less able. We have boxing coming in at 3 o'clock and jiu-jitsu on a Tuesday and a Thursday, active ages classes and Pilates classes and spin classes. So it's a really well utilised facility, and it's a big draw card for the area and for the community. So yeah, we are looking at reinvigorating it, I guess. So a big part of that will be the New Zealand Sports Hall of Fame. So we won the bid to bring that up from Dunedin a few years ago now. And as Simon mentioned, it's gone through a few iterations, and we'll update you as to what our latest is.
So the Home of Cycling Trust, Cycling Charitable Trust remains committed to bring the Sports Hall of Fame here. It's going to be a place to celebrate our national identity through sport by honouring excellence, and a big part for us is inspiring future generations to actually participate in sport as well. It'll be more than a museum. If you've ever visited it in Dunedin, it's quite a static display, artifacts and information on paper on walls, so it's quite static. So we'll be boldly reimagining it to be more of a digital experience, more of a hands-on experience, and we'll show you a bit more about that shortly. We were going to originally build it as a separate building, standalone building from, but linked with the velodrome. As of late, the board has determined that that's a little bit too expensive and unviable because of the construction costs of the building in the main. So that was 2/3 of the cost at around 8 million. So rather than doing that, the decision has been made to bring it into the spectacular building that we already have here. So the Sports Hall of Fame will be brought into the building. You'll start from the outside as you walk in. You come into the reception area, and then you make your way up to the top floor. And the bulk of the displays and artifacts will be on that, what we call the concourse, as you walk around the top.
Just ask the question, has anyone not been to the velodrome? Right, you must go and you'll be able to see the concourse on the top floor there.
So it's quite exciting when you walk up to that top level and people see the velodrome for the first time and they go, wow, it's really quite spectacular. So as mentioned, there'll be an emphasis on the digital innovation and some immersive technology as well. So that will engage the youth. It also means as you go around, you can choose what you read about and what you look at and what you have a go at. We will redesign as you go up to our first floor. There's a room there called the APL room, and we'll make that about 3 times bigger. And that will become a size that can accommodate classroom and children's groups. Classes of 30, there'll be opportunity to show video in there and be a welcoming space for the larger tours that might come around the Sports Hall of Fame. So from there, you'll go up to the top level. We'll talk about that a little bit in a moment, but the other thing we're going to do is transform the inner space for what we're calling have a go experiences. So currently someone can come in and they can have a go on the track if they're keen and able, and over 135 centimeters tall, you can have a go on the track, and that's a pretty exciting experience. It takes about an hour. But we're going to add more experiences into that inner field. So if you imagine your school groups can come in and they can have a go at different sports in there, maybe 8 to 10 different sports. So it could be something like, practicing your passes with Dan Carter, who's a virtual Dan Carter. It could be designing a sail GP yacht, and then you race your friends, and then you get to tweak it. You might tweak your foils or tweak your sails and then race it again. So if you can imagine, it's a bit of learning and I guess gamification, but it actually interests the kids. They can have a go at the sports they like. And it's starting to be proven in evidence that this can actually lead into real world sporting experiences, and they can get familiar with the sport in a safe environment, then actually go out and have a go if they enjoy it.
Just on that too, we're working very closely with Sport Waikato, and they've already committed $500,000 of their capital towards the project. And so the idea there is to use the Sports Hall of Fame. The kids go and do that, and it's sort of more of a museum experience, digital, and that they can sort of read about Waipa champions from sheep from sort of axe, from what is it? Wood chopping. That's it, wood chopping, to Serum and Hillary, to different. It's not just the traditional Olympic sports. There's about 28 different sports. And we've got about 5 years of inductions that we haven't done yet, that are out because they haven't kept up to date. So there'll be a lot of obviously Waipa rowers and cyclists who'll be inducted, and other sports people. And then it's about capturing that sort of moment and taking them downstairs, and then they can have a go at the sports and try different sports out. And then you then connect those kids, if they want to have a go in their local area, they might be from Otaronga or Tokoroa or wherever, or from Te Awamutu. They then can connect with where those clubs are, and basically trying to get them back, and back into sport or into sports they haven't tried. So it's very much about the community and students and getting them to be more active. It's not just about a tourist attraction. So that's a big part of it, and Sport Waikato are fundamentally committed to the project. Sorry, Miff, I
That's
butted in
all right,
again.
That's fine. So what you're looking at here is you're looking at across the velodrome, and as you can see up the top there, a screen. So we have the opportunity to put up LED screens on the wall behind the concourse. So that's a pretty amazing space where we can show what we're showing now, or it could be used, you know, to view a rugby game or part of the Sports Hall of Fame exhibit. Just yeah, a variety of uses for a commercial space as well. So as you come up the stairs, you could be looking at that across the velodrome, and then you go onto the Te Awa Toa, the Path of Champions off to your left, and you walk around the concourse. We have a museum architect working with us who has completed the Cambridge stud, if you've ever visited there. That's a pretty fascinating, wouldn't necessarily call it museum, but an experience where you can touch and feel and look and listen, and it's fascinating. And we just have another image as well. So again, can't quite see it, but across the velodrome is that LED screen that can go all the way. Can go
It's
right
about-
around if you
How
want
high is
to.
it from the top to the
Well,
bottom?
this one's 2.4 meters, but we actually have the opportunity to go right up to the roof in the middle
Would be about
sections as
6
well,
meters
which will
high.
be
So it'd be really
spectacular.
quite striking.
So yeah, we see it as a pretty exciting opportunity for the community and to bring it to Waipa. It will be a visitor attraction for locals, for national visitors, and also international visitors as well. We don't currently have an indoor attraction like this in our area, so we think it's a great asset to bring, and we think of all the events that come to the area, and if they have a rainy day, which we're not going to have for Māori Cup week, but this is where they would come to spend their rainy day.
Sometimes a sunny day
We'll say it, yeah. Yeah.
between races. Yeah, I mean, we've got up to 10,000 turning up to Māori Cup, and you know, for them to be able to come and visit something like this is ideal.
So that's it from us, and we'd love to take your questions and hear your thoughts.
All right, this time I'll turn my speaker on. Thank you.
Should also mention that Miff's now general manager of the velodrome, so we're very lucky. She's been a trustee for 4 years, and is it 4 years? And stepped in just before Christmas and confirmed her role. So it's great to have someone with that tourism and events experience, having run the Waipa destination and so on. And we are looking to make this a kind of a tourism
Yes.
hotspot, or what would you call it?
Yeah, visited destination, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, no, very, very exciting. It looks like you've got a super big project on your hands there, but I'm sure that looking at what you're planning to do, that there'll be plenty of support. So yeah, best of luck, and thank you again so much. I mean, there's some amazing facts in there, and you know, just the mere fact that you guys have done it on your own, you know, without relying on council, just shows the hard work and stuff that's actually gone into keeping it ticking along. So congratulations, especially on that. Really looking forward to seeing the Sports Hall of Fame come to fruition. But have we got any questions or comments? Jill?
I do feel guilty that I've never been there. And I guess, pardon?
We'll send some invites.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I guess being ignorant, I thought, well, if you haven't got a bike to ride around there, what else is there to do? Not even knowing you had a cafe there, or just to watch. Just a question, if people are taking their bikes to ride in the velodrome, do you actually have, when you're saying you have groups come in or school groups come in, do you have bikes that they can use?
We've got, I think about 90 bikes of our own.
Oh,
So they have a go bikes, and so there's different sizes and different pedal configurations. So yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, to be able to use the track independently, you need to be accredited, which takes a couple of hours, does it?
Yeah, 3 sessions
3
generally.
sessions, so we use our bikes. And then once you get into it, you might bring your own bike, bring your own track bike. But otherwise, you can just use them.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. And it looks fantastic what you're doing. Good on you. Thank you.
I'd just like to say I've observed CrossFit in your facility, pretty impressive when you've got a daughter competing, but wow. But the other thing too is I've had friends just recently from Hawke's Bay. They went up for a concert in Auckland. They stopped at the facility and they said the Bikery Cafe was wonderful and they really enjoyed having a look at the Velodrome. You know, they were and you know, why they mentioned it to me, it was probably about the food, but yeah, and that's just in the last probably 2 weeks. So congratulations.
I'd like to congratulate you both on a great effort. Okay. The stadium has done a great job over the last few years. I'm actually a Waipa District Councillor and also TA Sports. You would have seen me up.
Right,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, we know each other. But the point that I make is that this is a sporting venue that has promoted not only cycling, but elite athletes all across the country and even overseas. You know, you've got a great facility there. You've done a great job. And I really, really want to say that what you're doing with the Sports Hall of Fame is absolutely amazing. That's a great idea. You know, rather than building a separate building, you've got it in the building that exists. So, you know, that's saving money. But not only that, people that are competing can actually see or, you know, relate to the people that went before. Great idea.
Ideally, we'd like to, and we're hoping we can get enough support that we can make it free for all school students. So that's the ultimate, that they can come in. You know, you might be paying $15 or $20 if you're a, you know, member of the public. But if we got any council support and ratepayer support, we can certainly open it up to students for free and potentially discounts for ratepayers as well. So that's something that we'll hopefully talk to council up when the long-term plan comes up.
You guys.
With what money?
Yes, well, that's a little.
A supporter.
That's a little question.
I didn't quantify money. I said a supporter.
Yes.
There's no money involved.
That's where the arena comes in, is opening it up to all sorts of events. And we didn't probably articulate that we're talking about concerts, comedies, music events, not just sports. So we have a resource consent now to take up to 4,000 attendees. So it's been 1,500 up until now. But in a practical sense, we can probably host 3,000 to 3,500 attendees, some of them in the inner field and some of them in the current seating. So that means we can do all sorts of events. They don't have to go to Claudelands. You know, they can come to Waipa Arena. So that's where we're talking.
I actually saw that when you built the velodrome and all the communication stuff that went in the middle of the steel, and I just couldn't believe that you could actually get it right. But yeah, magnificent facility. The question I've got, you had some underneath you were going to utilise that for businesses or something. Has that all been filled up underneath? That was a bit of an idea.
That might have been the first iteration. We had a 3-story building on the side.
Right.
Of the velodrome, so basically matching the current footprint we have on the other side where we have offices. So we're no longer building that, so that won't be tenanted space.
Okay, another thing, I think Simon brought it up at the beginning. What are your annual costs? You said they're big to run the place.
Yeah, a couple of million a year now, because energy costs, you know, building maintenance after 10, 12 years obviously increase. And, you know, staffing costs and so on. So it's a couple of million a year. We're basically on a cash break even. So it's kind of, you know, hanging in there, but we know that every now and then you get a problem with ventilation, or you have to replace the track and sand the track, or new lighting. Those are things that you know, we have to then go to funders and work on that. So, you know, we would like for council, if they, you know, they put $1 million in 12 years ago, if we could get another $1 million, we basically brought this project cost down from about 14 to about 6 to 7 million. And we've raised about 4 to 5. So we're going to go ahead, but to have a little bit from council to call it an arena, and then we can do these events. We've got the ability to do 10 events of up to 4,000 people a year. So, you know, to have concerts, you know, and as I say, comedies, as well as CrossFit and other sports events would be really cool. The High Rocks, those new kind of events that are happening around the place, which apparently are very popular.
Had any discussions with Hamilton City? I know when it was
haven't
built,
yet.
we put $1 million in, and they don't think they put anything in, but they claimed it as theirs.
Yes,
So that's why
yes.
I say that.
Yes, well, we didn't invite them to our royal openings. We haven't. We might consider going to them as well. It probably is a good question, because a lot of our users are from Hamilton City.
And they're close enough then.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a good thing if you keep in council's face, you know, okay, things are tough at the moment, tough for everyone. But if you're in there and knowing what their aspirations with the staff, and yeah, that's the way to go.
I'd just like to endorse what everybody else has said about it. I've now had my arm twisted. I'm going to have to go and have a look and go and have a coffee. I've never been, but I'm really keen now to go and have a look.
That'd be great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Give you a personal
Tour.
tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Bakery Cafe is really good. They do good coffee and really nice food. So I can vouch for that. I've been a few times. So I'm off the hook. When are you hoping to get this started? Like, have you got?
Good question. We've just now recruiting contractors to do, we have to bring the exhibit up from Dunedin, and it's like a curatorial exercise.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a bit closer to this. Do you want to just outline what we're up to?
Yeah, so we need to understand history, the ownership of the artifacts down there. So we just need someone to work through that for us and to itemize everything, understand what is there, perhaps look at what should be returned, what should be brought up, and then as part of that process, understand what the best things are to have within the velodrome. So that'll be a 3-month project, we think, unless they uncover lots more than what we know about. But so that'll be a 3-month project to understand that. And from there, we can start with design and the finer points of designing the inside.
Ideally, we'd like to be open to middle to late next year, sometime,
Oh, yeah.
sometime 26.
Simon's quite ambitious.
Okay, end of next year. End of-
Yeah, I'm just thinking if it was a little bit further out, we might have some money again by then, but
We'll take it.
looking at this budget, ooh. And I'm sorry, we could make this little koha basically from the community board. And this was just a curiosity question. What are the acoustics like in there for concerts?
It's a really good question. For things like comedies, it's fine, but for actual bands and so on, we're getting acoustic consultants to do some tests.
Oh, yeah.
We've got to spend about 5,000 to get Marshall data to basically to do that exercise. So it's good for a lot of events, but we're not sure if it's going to be good enough for those sort of concerts. So
Yeah.
that's the next step.
It was just a curiosity thing when you said it, because I think it's a neat idea and broadening out your base. And you know, like if you can have a number of concerts in there with that number of people, there's a whole income stream, isn't it? That
Yes.
helps pay for the
Those
lights
middle
and
ones, you know, the
Yeah.
Stark arenas maybe are too expensive because there are, you know, running those concerts in Auckland are quite expensive for attendees and for promoters. So we can offer a kind of an affordable alternative.
option and in that size bracket, you know, like some of those places are huge and yeah, so that
And
yeah.
we've got
No, that
the
sounds
ability
neat.
to do parking over the road. We've sort of been working with our neighbours in the school.
Oh, yeah,
so
in the
we can
school.
take-
Oh, no, that sounds fantastic. Well, I can't think of anything else. So thank you very much for that wonderful
Thank you for
presentation.
listening, and we'll keep
All
you
the
keep you up
best.
to date. And
Yeah,
you
no,
must
please
visit.
do.
That's, we'll be,
Yeah,
if you haven't visited by the
Yeah.
time we come back, we'll be.
Yep, please
giving you a
do. Good
crowd.
luck. Right, so onwards from that wonderful presentation, we move to item 4, which is the confirmation of previous minutes on pages 9 to 13. Did I let you know that there was a minors problem?
Yes.
So there's a wee typo. I don't know, did anyone else have anything from the draft? sorry.
Karen sent one through, but I fixed.
Okay, so that one's fixed. Sorry, I hadn't got onto that sooner. So do we need to move it subject to the typo?
Yeah, typographical errors.
Okay, all right. So no one else had anything? Right. So we'll move that the Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board confirms the open minutes of the meeting held 26th of February 2025 as circulated with the agenda as true and correct record of proceedings subject to a minor typing error that will be fixed. Do you want what that was? Don't have to. That's all
We
right.
just said in subject to the amendment of typographical errors, then
Sweet.
that
Cool.
covers that.
Okay, so I'll move that. Seconded, John, all in favour? Against? Carried. Okay. Now I think, is Melissa here? Oh, yes, Melissa's here. Hi, Melissa. We move to item 5, which is an update on the 2025-34 long-term plan progress report on page 14. So I'm just going to confuse everyone and say that we will move the Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board receives the report of Daisy Wills, Strategic Policy Advisor, titled 2025-34 Long-Term Plan Project Update. I've moved it. Can I have someone to second that, please? Sally, all in favour? Against? Carried. So we will cut to Melissa, and she can tell us what any updates that she's got, and then if anyone's got any questions. So Melissa, it's all yours.
Good evening. Thanks, Ange. So this is just an update on the long-term plan. So we are currently working through the audit phase of the project. The next step is the exciting part, the community consultation. We've got a rather extensive project or phase planned, which will go through for about a month. We don't have details on the timing of that yet, but as soon as we have those locked in, we'll make you aware of those. Other than that, happy to take questions.
Okie doke. So has anyone got any questions at all in regard to the long-term plan? I didn't have anything either, so at this point in time. Yeah, if we can just know when those dates are, when they're ready, that would be super. Thanks. So that was easy peasy. All right, if there's nothing else, yep, we're all good. And I was correct that it wasn't approved today, no, yeah.
No.
There was something there that said it was going to be the 26th, so, yeah, no.
No, I thought I understood it was going out for consultation, but due to audit.
Yeah,
Questions,
everything's
we've got a
been,
delay.
yeah, that's what I meant. That didn't happen. It was just in there to say that that was what had hoped to have happened, if I've got that right. Okay. Over that. Right.
We won't got any Brian on for the next one.
Sorry?
We've not got any Brian on for the next one, for the service delivery part, but
You
I
haven't
can
got-
send an email if you have questions.
Oh, yeah, okay. Righto, so now we're going to move to item 6, which is the 6-monthly community board reporting from service delivery, community services and strategy groups on pages 15 to 18. So we'll receive that report. So that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board receives a report of Joe Greed Manager Governance titled 6 Monthly Community Board Reporting from Service Delivery, Community Services and Strategy Groups. So I can have someone to move that. Lou, seconder, please. Jill, all in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, so Kirsty or Sally, was there anything that you wanted to highlight or bring up from that service report before we have any questions at all?
Ngā mihi o te pō koutou. So good evening, everybody. I am here on the apologies of Brad, who is unable to be with you tonight, and he's asked me to fill in to discuss the projects that have been identified for community services. So really only a couple of quick updates that he's offered me, and I'm happy to try and answer any questions and also take any questions back from a service delivery perspective, recognising that neither Dawn nor Brian could be here this evening. So just an update, since as it's outlined within the report, there has been a meeting of the Te Awamutu War Memorial Park partners and stakeholder meeting in February. And there was some work that was identified with the Peace Fountain to be completed there. That is currently progressing, with the final pricing being confirmed before we can get physical works underway to do the works on the Peace Fountain. And part of the agreed works was to include some lighting that would be turned on for specific days of the week or on a timer to ensure they don't remain on all night and disrupt the precious native peka bats that might be, or the residents around the park. Also works to renew the bollards around the netball courts and the fence along Mutu Street, is scheduled to be completed by the end of June. So you will see contractors on site in the coming weeks. And then tomorrow morning, we do have the unveiling happening on site for those bridge panels, so that's previously been to you as well. So look, I'll be honest and try and answer any questions that you might have, and happy to take anything back to the service delivery team as well. So I don't know if Kirsty had anything to add, but that was all from me.
Thank you, Sally.
Thanks, Sally. Well, shall we cut to Kirsty and then we'll ask questions?
Thank
That's
you.
right.
Through the chair. So just in terms of the long-term plan, Melissa's provided you with an update with respect to Ahuaki Waipa Community Spatial Plan. Council approved that document today. So that was a real milestone moment, and just want to acknowledge the collaborative effort in developing that plan, working in partnership with Mana Whenua and iwi, and also working alongside our key stakeholders and our communities of Waipa. So our efforts will now turn to implementation and operationalisation of Ahuaki. So thank you all for your input, particularly through that comprehensive community engagement process in 2023. Just for your awareness also, members of the strategy group are working on the development of a climate change strategy and an economic wellbeing strategy. The latter will be reported through to the Strategic Planning and Policy Committee meeting on the 1st of April, and the climate change strategy will follow later. So we will be engaging with you in respect of those. And like Sally, also happy to respond to any questions you may have.
So congratulations, Kirsty. I know that you and your team have had a massive amount of work with Ahuaki, so that must be quite a relief that that's finally across the line and coming up to be operational now. So you can get on with the doing instead of just all of the designing, I suppose. So well done, and yeah, good luck for the next part. Have we got any questions for Sally or Kirsty? Lou, you had your hand up before for something.
I certainly did. Firstly, I just want to relate to the community board that the council actually appreciated the work done by the team for the Aki strategy policy. And it's a terrific policy, and a lot of work's gone in, nearly 4 years of work. So that was very much appreciated by us all. The second thing I just wanted to raise was about Memorial Park. When we put the new fence in, could we please look at putting a gateway at least 4 metres? I actually looked at it today quite carefully, and when we have arborists or larger tractors come in to do maintenance, turning off the road, a 3-metre gate's not going to be satisfactory. You really need at least 4.5, even 5 metres. So even to the extent of perhaps having 2 gates, I'm just making a suggestion here, but 2 gates with a bollard in the middle and with a sinking bollard or something, but yeah, but you know what I'm saying, John, it's just, John will probably talk to it as well.
With regard to gateway, I agree with Lou making it wide enough, but just have bollards so that it looks open. You put a gate there, it's a barrier. You put the bollards there, you've got somewhere else to walk in with your pram and things like that, and it'll make it more open, and that's what I think we need to achieve. Putting gates up there sort of takes away the thing. The other thing is, went for a walk with Teresa today. The signs on the bridge, I've had a peek underneath the things. They look bloody awesome. And I think, they've done a fantastic job there. And taking the old perfume gardens away, it's made a hell of a difference around the gazebo too. So well done, everybody. Be interesting to see how things go tomorrow. Thank you.
Cool. Ladies, you had nothing on this? Okay. I just had a quick question in regard to the trees that are going to be replaced in the middle of the Cambridge roundabout. I see they're going to be Indian bead trees, and I note that there's a comment there to say that they're not going to end up being in the way of the cameras, but these trees grow 12 metres. They're massive Melia trees. And so I'm just a bit curious how they are better suited when they potentially grow quite so big. So they're going to need to be continually topped, I imagine, to keep them at a decent size. So I don't know whether, Sally, you can answer that now or not, but that was just a query that I went, oh, those are big trees.
So if I can, through the chair, through you, Ange, recognise I'll take your comments back. Look, I'm not an expert on trees, so I would be very amiss of me to comment on size and scale. But definitely I can take those comments back, and I know that the arborists within the team would be ensuring that the selection or the species they select are right for the location. And I just wanted to also pick up on, I appreciate the comments regarding gateway versus bollards. I'll also take that back to the team as well. So thanks for that. And I'm pretty sure after that meeting we had at the end of February, the team are quite aware of how to work around in terms of access for our community into the space. So, but I will take that feedback back as well.
Cool. Thanks, Sally. I did think we mentioned that at that meeting. I thought the gate width did come up that day.
They did come up.
It did, in saying about putting bollards and making it wider.
I had suggested bollards, and Liz was thought
Yeah.
that was an awesome idea.
Yeah.
And for the same reasons I've just mentioned.
Yeah. I'd also like to just use this opportunity to acknowledge that that perfume garden, it does look way tidier for the meantime, and it's less of a hazard because those sides and stuff were falling off. So it does at least look a whole lot tidier now, which is good. So thank you to the team for looking after that, and looking forward to the opening of or unveiling tomorrow. I think that was all I had, to be honest. So yeah, no, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to be available for us to ask some questions. So thanks, Sally, and thank you, Kirsty.
No problems. Thank you.
Night. Right, so we now move to item 7, the Lake Ngaroto Reserve Management Plan, which is on pages 19 to 111. Not many pages, is there? So we will take this as read. Before I do receive the report for this one, I just want to have a quick discussion and find out from the board, do we want to make a submission on this? Oh, yeah, no, yeah. You don't want to do one, Joe? Sally? If we don't do one, I'll do a personal one. So you would be a yes? That you would prefer that the community board showed their support or whatever, or falls in against? Yep, cool. Lou? Oh, you're not taking part. Sorry, John, where were you sitting? Kane's not here, of course.
I'm sort of with Sally. If we could do one at this community board.
Yep.
It's worthwhile doing.
Yeah, I think, and for me, I think that it's important that we do and show our support, because it's a very important resource that we have there. And for me, even if we're just saying yes to these things of cleaning the water and looking after those drains and, maintaining that wetland and respecting the historical and cultural significance of that space. So I'm a yes on that too. So in light of that.
So we'll let them speak, because.
Yep, I'm going to go.
We'll have to go through the submission.
Yeah. So I was going then. Yeah. Right. So because we've got 2 parts to this, we're going to, I'll come back to actually moving this one, but we're going to go across to Aidan and Anna. And if you guys have got any highlights or any points that you would like to point out, and then if we've got any questions, hopefully we can pick your brains on the questions. So I'll give it to you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, kia ora koutou, and thank you, Madam Chair. You've partially done our work for us, so yeah, great that you've confirmed that you'd like to make a submission. The report sets out some of the highlights of the draft RMP, and we have the report author. The reserve management plan, draft reserve management plan author Anna Makare here. So if you'd like, Madam Chair, should she'll can briefly run through some of the highlights of the plan.
That would be awesome, Anna, if you wouldn't mind. It would be really great because there was a lot to try and digest. So yeah, if you could kind of summarise and make sure that the brains actually retain that information correctly, that'd be super. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou, and yeah, thank you for the opportunity to present on the draft plan and explain a little bit about the submission process and answer any questions you may have. It is a lengthy document. Not all management plans are. Sometimes it's good to be really succinct, but for Lake Ngāroto, there is a lot of history and context that is sitting across a range of different documents. That's really important, we thought, to bring it together to have one document that really speaks to the importance of this lake for so many different reasons, the state it's in and the reasons why it's in that state, and what is understood to be the pathway to protecting and restoring those values, and particularly the fresh water. So I guess just before I get into the plan itself, just to let you know, we had a lot of engagement leading into drafting the plan, and that was fabulous. So we worked really closely with Lee Seymour from Ngāti Hikairo and Oren Kapua from Ngāti Apakura, with the Waikato Regional Council staff and a range of those staff sitting in different teams. The Peat Lake Accord partners, which council is one of those partners, as well as the Regional Council, DOC, Fish and Game, and the National Wetlands Trust. We met several times and had conversations with the lessees that are there, the adjoining landowners, and we had a public consultation process at the start, and we received 45 pieces of feedback. So that was really fabulous to help us understand what people value about the reserve, what they want to see there. The key things from the engagement are summarised in the report for you in Appendix 2. And the other point I just make is in preparing the plan, we also had a focus group, which included Councillors Stoic and St Pierre and Pirongia Ward Committee member Tai Huata, who we met with several times to keep them updated on the project, discuss the feedback received, and to test our thinking on how best to respond to the matters raised. So it's a comprehensive document. Up in the front section is a lot of the context that I talked about earlier when we included that. And then it gets into setting a 30-year vision. And that's the sort of length of time that aligns with Ahuaki's timeframes, but also potentially is a slightly short timeframe for what will be required to start turning the lake health around and restoring it, from what we understand from freshwater specialists and scientists. It includes a policy framework to guide us and council in its actions to achieve that vision. And it also has a 10-year action plan, which was informed through understanding of current budgets and where things are at, but also that action plan will inform future budget discussions through future LTP and annual plan discussions. The plan doesn't provide the silver bullet. It doesn't provide all the answers. It's a hugely complex issue. The majority of the catchment, more than 90%, is outside of land that's owned and administered by council. And so a lot of that catchment is governed by rules set by the Regional Council, and the Regional Council has a really important role in protecting and restoring the freshwater. There's also, at this stage, there's insufficient information to make decisions on some key matters that were raised around the weir height and how to best manage the drainage channels on the reserve land. But we think it is doing an important job, the plan. It's a call to action. It has all of that information in one place. It will really help inform discussions with the Regional Council, with mana whenua, and with other key stakeholders who are going to, collaboration is going to be critical to trying to achieve the vision, the draft vision that we've put in the plan. The draft plan does have some key differences. They are set out on page 21 of your report, and Aidan and I will be happy to answer questions to those. In terms of consultation, we started that on the 13th of February. That closes on the 18th of April, and any support is great. That that as a board, you're going to be putting in a submission. That's really great to hear. And if through your networks out into the community, if you can promote that opportunity for people to read the draft plan and tell us what they think about it, we'd really appreciate that support. In terms of just next steps, so following submissions closing 18th of April, we will analyse the submissions received, and then we'll probably have the hearing and deliberations in early June, which will be after the LTP hearings. And the hearing panel will be council as part of the SP&P committee. So I'll finish there, but very happy to answer any questions you might have and provide more detail if you'd like it. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Anna. Really appreciate that. And well done. It certainly looks like a massive piece of work that you guys have done there, and looks very thorough. So have we got any questions? I've just got a comment rather than a question, which is a little sideways one, but Sally?
I suppose my major question is, you've been looking at the lake and doing a lot of work with it for the past 30 years, is my understanding from the document. So with increased housing, and which is in the catchment, I take it, with the increased housing at Ohaupo, and what have you, how do you see the improvement when you've got increased land use by us humans, people, to actually gauge and measure the improvement of the water of the mighty Y? Because the catchment with septic tanks, runoff and all of that, more people, it's dirtier than the last 30 years, and we haven't managed it in the last 30 years. So that's my sort of where I'm coming from.
Through the chair, it's a great question. The land change use to some urban use up in the northern part of the catchment is probably less of an issue. The majority of the catchment is dairy farming, and it is the runoff from that in terms of nitrogen, phosphorus, the contaminants and the sediments coming down that have led to the high nutrient loads that are in there at the moment, which is causing these sort of negative feedback loops. So there has to be some action around dealing with what's already in the lake. And then there has to be some really, big changes in the agricultural practices that are occurring in the catchment. And of course, the Regional Council, through their Plan Change 1, was starting to address that and is still in the process of working through that. But we're working with landowners who, a number of them have been proactive and doing fencing off waterways, doing some planting, starting that. But from what we understand from the Regional Council scientists, it's going to have to be on a whole different scale to make a real difference to the lake health.
Okay, cool. Figured it might be something pretty big, because it's quite a long time frame, isn't it, to clean the phosphorus and nitrogen out of the lake. Thought I recalled reading that somewhere. My little question might be more an Aidan question, and that was, I note on page 3 of your feedback that 38% of individual respondents sought no changes to off-leash dog rules. I was pretty confident that it is on leash around the lake, because A, we don't want dogs in the lake, and B, upsetting the bird life around the lake. So I'm thinking 38% of the people that responded, that's quite a lot of them that don't know the correct rules. But I hadn't had time to go back to the dog bylaw to make sure I was right. But I have walked my dog around there, and I'm pretty sure there's signs that say dogs on leash.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. You're correct. It is dog on leash around the lake, on the track around the lake. There is a dog exercise area. I can't recall its exact parameters, but near the kind of the entry area that Anna might know off the top of her head.
F3, Madam Chair. It's down by the boat ramp.
Yeah.
Oh, the boat ramp.
Oh, like on that grass bit in front of the sailing club, kind of in there. No?
Yeah, to the left, it's quite a small area. Yeah. So, and what we were clear through the process is any changes to the dog rules for the reserve will occur through the bylaw process rather than through the management plan process.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sweet. All right. Well, now I know I can let my dog off in that little bit. No, that was all good. As I say, I was pretty impressed with the like the degree and the amount of information that's in there. It certainly looked like a lot to get through. So any other questions? No? Righto.
With
hold
regards
on.
to the phosphates and everything, how is the effect of spraying and everything of the willow weed and what have you to the pollution or whatever of the water? Because a lot of that happens too, doesn't it? Does it not?
Yes, that's correct. There has been a program of willow eradication, ideally, happen over a number of years, and I haven't directly been involved in running that program, but my understanding is there isn't negative adverse effects in terms of water quality associated with the spray. It's very carefully managed and targeted spray application, and I think that the benefits far outweigh any potential adverse effect in undertaking that program of works in terms of the native biodiversity restoration and the water quality.
Thanks, Anna. And the other point I'd make is that is administered under the remit of a regional council consent, and so there's that kind of control that or analysis that goes into the application of that willow spray.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, Aidan and Anna. If we can have you both just hang about in case we stumble along the way, that would be really awesome. And then we'll let you go. Is that all right? Unless you've got something, family or some commitments that you do need to get away for.
No, that's fine.
Cool. Okay. Righto then, seeing as we have agreed that we will do a submission, we need to whip through some questions. I just want to jump to page 36, but I've got to do it one at a time. Unfortunately, I'm speedy diligent. I haven't worked out. Oh, I did work out one day how to get there faster. Hang on. I just go like that, don't I? And it jumps there. Aha! Right. No, except for that's a picture.
This might be page 60 of the agenda.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. I'm just, you might want to go to page 60. Vision, principles. Is that where we wanted to go?
So there's principles there, and then the next page is objectives.
Objective one. Right, this is what I was looking for, just so I could have it in front of me. All righty. So do we agree with the vision? The life-sustaining capacity of Lake Ngāroto is brought back to life and protected, and the Wahitapu sacred site status acknowledged so that the Waikato and Waipa rivers, indigenous species, mana whenua and communities can flourish. Yes, partially, or no? Where are we sitting?
Yes.
Yes? Everybody happy with a yes on the first question? And have we got any comments to make about that? My comment is that it's really important that those things are acknowledged and respected, basically. Is that all right that we just add something to that effect? That it's an important aspect of, looking after the lake. Okay.
My concern would be the monetary aspect, and I don't know how that it's all funded. So I'd quite like an explanation on that, because I think that this, we've got a fantastic lake. It's beautiful. Lots of people use it for the walking around and everything else. But I have spoken to a few of the landowners because I know them. And it seems to me like there's been projects done, like lots of planting, and and then weeds have grown and then it's had to be redone. From what I gather, that's my understanding. And so my sort of feeling is that when we're in a cost of living so-called crisis and people are, I think that we really need to be mindful of the cost and what's been approved or going forward. And also it's the measurement, you know, we have to have accountability. I mean, I would imagine that this is a living document. So therefore, you know, you're talking about tests on the water all the time. So then what's the measurement, and then what's the response to the you know, where's the consequences, probably what I'm saying. So I just don't want to see ratepayers, you know, the general community expenditure escalating in concern of the cost of living, really.
I'm going to pop that on the back page. I don't know, Anna or Aidan, did you have a comment to make in regard to that at all?
Perhaps I'd just make the point that usefully, Waipa District Council does have a district plan that does provide for environmental benefit lots as a way of supporting some of the proposed acquisitions to extend and widen the buffers, which is one of the key actions that will help protect and restore the lake. I think there's definitely partnerships required with whether that's the Regional Council, Waikato River Authority, other funders to also achieve those aspirations. And equally, probably in terms of the comment you made around restoration planting that's occurred in the past that has failed as a result of perhaps insufficient weed control programs, which is always a really important part of any restoration. You know, you do need to have 3 to 5 years of weed control management. And sometimes that's difficult to get the volunteer base to be involved in, but potentially that's, you know, there are avenues, I think, to still try and move forward and get progress, recognising the tight financial times that the council is in at the moment. And just to your point around how do we monitor progress and report on that? Unlike some management plans, in this plan we have clearly set out in the section 4 what those expected outcomes are that we want to see and how we're going to monitor progress towards that. And a lot of that will be Regional Council who's responsible for doing the water quality monitoring, but we have put quite a bit of detail in there to try and support those discussions and that review to track progress.
Cool. Thanks, Anna. Okay, so we'll jump back now to right, objective 1, which is on, it's down here is pages 36 and 38, but it's actually on page 61 of our agenda. So objective 1 was in regard to the health and well-being of Lake Ngaroto's freshwater being restored. So there were a number of things here. Just to remind you, it was about working collaboratively with mana whenua, Peat Lake Accord partners, landowners, catchment, etc. I'm not, actually, I'll go through some of these, but I'm not going to do all of them because there were quite a lot. It was around reclassifying land parcels, protecting and restoring the buffer zones around the lake and wetland areas, managing the weir, so Anna talked about that before, sorting out the drainage and vegetation, investigate the Waikato Regional Council potential transfer of management in regard to the drainage district, protecting and restoring the margin of Rapu along the lake edge. There's quite a lot of that there, actually. Best practice around farm management, more details around the Peat Lake, we've done that. Supporting the drainage, yep, that's sort of highlighted as a reminder. So that looking at the freshwater species, so all of those well-being things, I suppose, around the lake. So basically, do we support looking after the well-being of the lake and working with those people to ensure that the water is restored back to its
My comment
highest
would
quality
be, yep,
possible.
certainly support it. However, so long as the stakeholders are being listened to and that the process is clear and it's realistic and reasonable, I am certainly no expert on measurements of what's going on at the moment, but it has to be realistic and it has to be, I suppose, in an achievable time frame.
Yep. Anyone else got any comments they'd like me to include in that submission? So everybody's happy with saying yes, we would like to see the water cleaned up? Yeah. Right, objective 2, which I'll jump along here. It was on what page? Oh, here we go. So objective 2 is that Lake Naroto has a thriving terrestrial ecosystem that enhances Waipa's indigenous biodiversity, which is on page 64. So that's including things like view shafts, looking after habitats, eradicating pests, working with partner organisations, creating greater public awareness, education programs, encouraging visit tours to come to the lake. And at the very start, it was primarily in regard to the policies relating to implementing the Lake Naroto Restoration Plan 2021 to 31. So do we support the lake having a thriving terrestrial ecosystem that enhances Waipa's indigenous biodiversity? Partially, yes. Yes. Yep. Yep. Partially. Okay, so not any comments there other than, like within budget, same as above really. Sally, for you? Same as previously, just that it's realistic stakeholders, but there's nothing specific to that. Yep, okay. Righto. Do you support objective 3? Right.
So that last one was partially or yes?
Oh, I think more yes. I'm a yes. John was a yes. Jill's a yes. So in principle, yes. Okay. Objective 3, mana whenua's connections with Lake Naroto are recognised and provided for, and Mātauranga, Māori and tikanga are integrated into governance and management of Lake Naroto. So that's taking into consideration the spiritual, ancestral, cultural, customary and historical interests of the lake, with wahi tapu status, restoring their traditional name back to Wairoto. So you probably heard Bill Harris often refer to Lake Naroto as Wairoto. So it's basically enabling mana whenua and acknowledging the historical significance of that lake, which I would imagine most people know about the Battle of Hingakaka, and just that was a very significant battle back many, many years ago. So do we support that, and have we got any comments?
I'm happy to support.
Yep, okay, we can do a yes on that one. Happy to support that. With no further comments. Objective 4. Whoops, I'm going backwards, sorry. We'll go forwards. Objective 4, recreational opportunities are enhanced for a range of users where they do not compromise Lake Naroto's values or impact other reserve users. So that's around just making the lake more user-friendly, looking after the track and the circuit, developing more of a track through the wetland zone, dog access for exercise and conservation, rubbish-free approach that requires all visitors, event organisers to take their rubbish away with them. I'd say that good luck with that one. looking at what rubbish is left down there on a regular basis, clear positive guidance, wayfinding, all those good things. Recreational users about health warnings, looking after the algae bloom, what happens on the lake. So do we support that? And have we got any comments? Don't all speak at once. Yes, no?
Yeah, I agree. Yes.
I just want to say I'm not really saying a lot about this submission because I just feel quite upset that it's got to the regional council and the council have let it get to the water quality to the level that it is, and how long it's been like that. So I just want to express that. Thank you.
Okay. So basically we are happy to support that. Anyone got any other comments around that recreational use or no? And then do we agree with the proposed priorities that have been identified for the next 10 years and the proposed outcomes that we want to achieve in 30 years? Which were, were they the ones that we had at the very start, or was that 50? What was 50 to 55? 53, just want to check I'm looking at the right things.
Through you, Madam Chair, they're on page 75.
Thank you. Just couldn't remember. I needed to work out how to bookmark things so I can be in advance of myself and jump through. Okay, so basically, it's, if you recall, it's looking at a timeline. So we've got actions in the next 3 years over the following 7 and what we will see in 30 years. So I think that's a pretty achievable plan, looking at what we've got there. But have we got any comments, and are we happy to support the plan that Anna and Aidan and their team have proposed?
Can I just say that on page 75, even with my magnifying glass, I couldn't read it. It's dark black writing on dark blue. I'm not sure how you want to read that.
Diligent is how you read it. That's probably a good point for the printed version. Oh, yours looks like that too. Ooh.
Saying we can't see it.
Oh, well, diligence the way you do it. Okay, I will screenshot this and flick it through to you, and then if there's...
Share it on the screen. Joe can share it on the screen.
Okay, do you want to have a quick look at it? Have a quick look. If Joe can share it for a quick look, that'd be great. That saves me trying to read it all, because there's a lot there. I've probably got a comment in that at this time, explore land margins through acquisitions on farm actions. When you, Anna, is that meaning purchasing land off the farmers to help prevent the runoff? When you say explore opportunities to extend lake margins through acquisitions on farm actions?
Yes, in part through acquisitions to extend the reserve buffer zone, but also there's plenty of on-farm actions that the private landowners can undertake. Some of them have started that process.
Like their own planting and stuff like that to help filter the stuff before it gets to the lake, that type of thing?
That's correct, having their own setbacks and planting and doing some of that filtering on their own land is definitely part of the solution.
Sweet, thank you. I'll rattle through while Joe's trying to get it up. So the actions in the next 3 years is to, as I just mentioned, explore opportunities to extend lake margins through acquisitions and on-farm actions, classify and reclassify the land covered by this plan in accord with policy 1.2, support the Waikato Regional Council to finalise Plan Change 1 and develop an action plan for Lake Ngāroto that, amongst other things, outlines and prioritises in-lake actions. Investigate with the Waikato Regional Council the potential transfer of management for the Ohaupo Ngāroto Drainage District to Council and or changes to the current drainage rate levies to manage drainage expectations on the farms within the catchment. And then I don't know, can you guys read that now? So I'm on the left, on the far side, work with partner organisations to support farmers within the catchment to develop and implement farm freshwater plans to make measurable reductions in nutrient sediment and contaminants flowing off their farms. So, for me, that sounds pretty sensible. It's just doing that whole investigation part. But like you say, Sally, I think all of this needs to be tempered. Is that the right word? And
Well,
within our means.
Yeah, and it all sounds really, really nice, and I get it. However, when you are a farmer and you're on the land and it's your land and you've been there for years and years and years and you know how it all works and everything else, and then you have people coming in to sort of say this, it's actually, the partnership has got to listen. It's got to listen to the landowners that have been there for years, and they have to work together. It has to be win-win, because at the moment, from what I gather, they're seeing things that are happening and they're frustrated. And I would be too, and it's about the waste as well of our money, all of our money. When you see a digger come in and the digger's not even fit for the job that it's been there for, it's that sort of stuff that's happening. And
Yep, I agree. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there to utilise the knowledge and the skill of the people in our community. And we are seeing this over and over, where there are people with extensive knowledge in certain areas that could save us a lot of money. They could offer their expertise and it would make them feel valued and a part of the project. So I think that would be something that we definitely, by the sounds of what you're saying, does everybody agree, do we basically agree with that sentiment? I mean, I know I certainly do. It's something that I would like to see happen a lot more. Not just ask opinions, but actually take advice from people that are really experienced and know stuff. I've had a few recent examples of just that.
And I think the farming, there is a greater push now for soil health. And I think we are going to see farming changing, because we know that the soil health actually affects the food supply. And so I think that is going to be a part and parcel of moving forward anyway, the greater awareness. But yeah, I'll stop.
Yeah, no, thanks, Sally. Righto, so are we happy with this plan that we have in front of us?
Yeah, can read it.
Yep. Okay, so we're going to go with yes, but I've just noted needs to be win-win, take advice from local knowledge, no soil health. I've just put in, it's just as a comment that I'll try and build into where we end
Ask
up.
a question.
Yes.
Whose idea was it to change the name? Where did the whole initial idea of this all stem from?
Wairopo. Where?
Yeah, how did this all come about? What was the initial or instigator or drive to get to this? Because I don't understand.
Anna, you might be better to speak to that, because you've probably been involved more firsthand than what I've got sort of a bit of an idea, but I think you'd be much better at answering that.
Yes, I'll do my best, recognising that if mana whenua were here, representatives from Ngāti Hikairo and Ngāti Apakura, they would do a much better job. So as it's been relayed to us, the traditional name that lake would have been referred to was Wairoto. So I guess that's understood through that's been passed down through generations, through stories, and there's historical record of that name. And then I guess the other point that Bill has made on numerous occasions is just in terms of grammatically, na means plural and roto means lake. So it's just very unlikely ever that the correct name would have been na roto for one lake. So the driver has come through working closely with the iwi and understanding the traditional name that they used and the importance of them in restoring that correct name for the lake.
Cool, thanks, Anna. That was what I'd been told too, and particularly around that na, because it is, yeah, plural and there is one lake. Okay, so hearings, do you want us to speak to our submission, or are we quite happy to do a written submission and go from there? Yep, okay. Cool. And would we like to stay updated with the progress? I've said yes, but I'd love to keep up to date with how it's going and what's going on, because I do think it's a very important piece of work to look after that lake. And I know on times where I've walked around there and it's been particularly grody, it's like, ugh, it's real yuck when it gets yuck. So, all right, is that okay, Joe? On the screen, yep. Oh, I can't see it when it's on the screen.
It's just behind you.
Oh, no, I can when I'm looking, I mean, I can't see it when I'm looking through my glasses on the screen. No, you're going the wrong way. Now I can't see it. Okay, so what we have is that we agree with the vision. We support objective 1 and the draft policies to achieve it. We support objective 2 and the draft policies to achieve that. 3 and the draft policies to achieve that. And 4 and the draft policies to achieve this one. We agree with the proposed priorities that have been identified for the next 10 years and that we want to achieve in 30 years. And raise issues of costs for implementation and how this would be funded, and then seize our normal delegate authority to the chair. I've got a few more notes there. Do we need to add these in at the moment, or are we quite happy to put them in our submission?
If they go with what you've kind of got here, or if you want to specifically identify them as one of the kind of other ones, a bit like we've got the raise the costs for implementation. Is there anything else?
Yeah, so I've just popped down as notes that you know, we want this work to be able to be conducted within the financial constraints of our current environment, and to make sure the costs don't escalate disproportionately, I suppose. Would that be right? Costs don't escalate disproportionately.
We've got in there raise the issue of costs for implementation and how this will be funded. So I think that really kind of the wording that you've got there.
All right, okay.
Elaborates, I think, on what you've got on that last one.
We wanted to make sure that there's an acknowledgement that the work done is actually looked after, because I totally agree. Over the years, I have seen way too many times where there has been amazing work done by either volunteers or people planting trees, and then that horrible vine stuff just grows all over them and smothers them, and they're all dead. So yeah, and they could be probably 4 or 5 meters high by now. And just want to reiterate, I know it's already in the plan, but that we do put a lot of importance on monitoring the progress and achieving the expected outcomes, and that those are measured. And it's not just something that's in the plan that we're going to do, but it actually never happens. How, you know, that they.
I'd like to reiterate, listening to the
Oh,
people that are on the land.
Getting to that. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten that one.
Neighbouring landowners, is that?
So I've written down, take advice from and utilise local knowledge. To enable a win-win, but I can put that in my bit and embellish it out and, you know, floss it out. On the very first one, with agreeing with the vision, I would just like for us as a community board to acknowledge that we see the importance and respect the cultural significance there. Not sure here. I've just written acknowledged and respect cultural significance, but basically to say that we and that life-sustaining capacity, that we acknowledge the importance of that statement, I suppose, and its cultural significance to the area. Does that sound all right? What'd you say?
Turn around, everyone.
Can everyone see it?
See it or need to
Is
get up
everybody
and
happy
look at
with
the
what we've
screens?
got as a kind of a starting point, and then I'll do my normal, try and write it up as best I can, and then sort of just flesh it out a little bit and flick it back to you guys so you can approve it. So I've got a little bit of time up my sleeve before it's due for a change. I don't have to get it done in a week. Can Sally see it?
Yeah, can Sally see?
Can
you see it?
Can you see it all right?
Yeah.
Yep. So you haven't missed anything that you can think of? No? All right. Let's move it. Okay, so that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board, oops, doesn't agree to allocate that. I'm looking at the wrong one. No, but I was going to start here. A, receives the report of Aidan Kirkby McLeod, Reserves Planning Team Leader, titled Draft Lake Ngaroto Reserve Management Plan Consultation. And B, that we make a submission to the Draft Lake Ngaroto Reserve Management Plan and covering the following points from, I'm not going to read all of those, 1 to 10. And then C, that you delegate authority to the chair of the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board, Ange Holt, to finalise the Community Board submission on the Lake Ngaroto Reserve Management Plan in consultation with Community Board members. So can I have someone to move that? Sally? Second it, John? All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Am I allowed to eye my own thing? Righto. Anna and Aidan, thank you very much for staying with us to answer those few extra questions. Really appreciate it. And so, yeah, have a lovely night. Go put your feet up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right. We move to item 8, the Treasury report on pages 112 to 114. Let's have a look. I don't think there was anything there jumping out at me. I do need to follow up with Bill again about this money that is still sitting there. Joe, I think we talked about this briefly. He was going to get a letter, which hasn't come to fruition yet, for just probably he's busy, I'm not quite sure. But in light of the fact that that money has now been sitting there for the length of time it has, and it hasn't been used, and that the group that it was given to no longer exists, do we actually have to receive a letter from anybody to say, look, it's been sitting there, the group doesn't exist, the work was never done, and that it is put back into the coffers?
I mean, it would be good if we could get something from him, if we can, even if it's just an email, and then we can do
Okay.
a report back if he is able to provide that.
Yep, I'll try again.
Even if he just puts it in an email,
Okay.
and then we can prepare a report and tell that story and ask for that to be.
Cool, because otherwise, I mean,
Yeah.
I've been on the community board for 10 years and it's been there the whole time. Or
Yeah,
9 to
and
be
if we
exact.
can get him, and I can do an email.
Yeah, and he also made the comment now that a waharoa costs about 5 times that. So it's gonna be half a side probably now. Cool, I will follow that up again and try and get onto that. Any other questions or comments around our treasury report? We're quite happy with where that's sitting at the moment. That's all good. Okay. Project battery. Okay. All right. So can I please have someone to move that the Kihikihi Community Board receives the report of Nada Milne, financial accountant, titled Treasury Report for the period ended 28th February 2025. Lou, someone to second it. Jill, all in favour? Against? Carried. Righto. The chair's report. Right. So what have we got? First up, we've got a little thing to move. So we'll just have a quick look at that. So just to explain the reason behind us needing to allocate $321 of the $1,500 was because when we did the that resolution to allocate $1,500 towards fixing up the sign, we used the words repair, and technically giving it a clean isn't repairing it. So just for future, we need to be a little bit mindful and maybe go repair and maintenance or repair and other to cover that off. So that's why that's there. So, but just a quick update on that. Spoke to the soft wash people, and it's pretty much, you know, in the pipeline to get going once we've got through tonight. So Brian's seen a traffic management or not a traffic management plan, but a safety plan for when their workers are there, and he's happy with that. So it's pretty much all set to go, and as soon as it's clean, we'll get hold of Cubic, who've kindly offered to polish up the stainless steel. So that'll be the first two bits done, and then hopefully the service groups can get their signs. We've just got our Altruza, Jill, that we need. Was there anyone else?
Altruza have got signs made, and they'll be going up very shortly, and they're actually doing one on the Ohaupo Road and the Kihi Road.
Oh, nice.
They're doing both because both of them you can't see any words.
They haven't made it as big. They've kind
They
of
were meant
done
to be doing the same shape as the others.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Right. So that would look better, because that was one thing I found a bit wonky, is all these. Yeah. Oh, nice. Thank you. So Jill's been helping just go to the service groups and make sure that what they've got there that they're happy with, and to make sure we haven't missed anybody.
How come it's the responsibility of paying for it has come down to us as a community board as opposed to those service groups? I'm just curious.
They're paying for their own signs. We're not paying for their signs. We're just paying to get it cleaned.
Right. So when they initially went in though.
The service groups?
Yeah, when the service groups when those first signs went in, who was meant to be responsible for upgrading and looking after them?
They do. So they provide the Rotary sign, and they provide the Lions sign and the Altruza sign. They do. Or are you talking about the whole sign?
Yeah, the whole thing. And so
council, that should be something council looks after, but they didn't want to. So we took it on as a project to clean it and look at, you know, like what we could do with it. And initially we had, if you recall, we talked about possibly, you know, doing a bit more to it, but in light of the current financial position, we said, well, how about we spend about $1,500 and just give it a bit of a cheer up so it stands out a little bit and at least looks nice rather than looks grotty and dirty. And that was where we got to. And so we had agreed to just spend a little bit of money on tidying it up. So that's
curious as to the service delivery response, the service groups, their responsibility once they've provided the sign.
Yeah, so
Is there any backstory?
Well, I don't know. It was done way before I ever lived here. Back in 1970 something was when it started. So it was way before me. Yeah.
But sometimes some of these things have been provided by people, and then they've handed it over to the council to then take responsibility of it. It's like knowing that story.
On the
really.
sign, I can tell on the sign, the dairy co-op which is now Fonterra. Is that, have I got that right, Lou? Yep. So that they sponsored the sign. There's a thing there that says about it had been originally sponsored by the dairy co-op. So that was how the sign came to be, from my recollection of, yeah. So that was that part. I think rather than reading right through everything, I just wanted to jump to, was there anything anyone had a comment about what I've said or wanted, had any further comment to make?
And you mentioned that you'd like to thank Brian for
Parking signs.
yeah, yes, for that. And you also mentioned about the George Street car park.
Yep.
And they've done a few weeks, a couple of months ago, they replaced the no entry sign, but they haven't done the crossings, they haven't done the parking. And as long as I can remember, like 12 years, I've had to go to council every 2 or 3 years and say, you need to be repainting this, you need to be repainting it. And every time I say something, then they get onto it. But unless I say something, it's never done. So to me, it should be a maintenance thing, but it never is.
Yeah. So had you said something about some of that not being done? Because so I through the report, you'll see there that Brian has responded and the transport team, I don't know that it specifically was Brian, that they're going to go and have a look at it. Because I was a little bit like you, to be fair, and I had noticed that there were a number of things had been zhuzhed up, and I'm like, oh, the pedestrian crossing's looking a bit sad. You would think while you were there with the paint, that would have got done. So that was why I brought it back to their attention, because it's been working fabulously. I mean, you see the kids cross the road and people stop. I've used it plenty of times going to the gym and people stop for me now instead of having to try and dodge cars to get across. So it should be in this, I imagine it's in their, oh my gosh, what's it called?
Maintenance.
No, no, that wasn't what, Lou, what do you call them? Service. No. What's it called? Joe, help me. The thing that they all have to, when they're doing maintenance things, their plan, it's got a name.
Not the renewals plan. No.
No, it's called.
Oh, their activity management plan?
It'll come to me. It'll come back to me. It's levels of service.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was trying to get out.
Just with Brian, we had a meeting.
Yeah.
At the RSA, you were there, weren't you? About the mobility park.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to get mobility parks, like the one out here now. They're a double park to allow entrance and access for wheelchairs, etc.
Yep.
From a vehicle. So they're moving that one that's in town now
Yep.
up. So that is part of the program going.
So I'm not sure that's okay. No, we can talk about that now, because in regard to the CBD parking. So yes, I've had a couple of conversations with Rachel Elgar, and also I've spoken to the chamber, and we were of the opinion that rather than moving the existing disabled car park that's outside the movie theatre, that we just put in an extra one outside the RSA, because both places we felt were of equal importance. Like I was thinking, if I was a mum with a disabled child, I would really appreciate having a disabled car park where I could easily get that child out in their wheelchair and into the movies, as well as elderly people or just generally disabled people trying to get to the movies. And the same, we did talk about possibly doing it off the street, but there's not enough room. So I did say to Rachel, I just wondered as a community board, what we thought, and I will let Rachel know what our opinion was of that. As I say, I thought that it was a good idea. The chamber thought it was a good idea, but I wanted to just bounce it off you guys and say, how do you feel about having an extra one? Because I know there are quite a lot of disabled parks, but they kind of Yeah. John?
I actually agree with what you say, because the one by the RSA, all they're doing is putting the car park stays the same. They just put the yellow marks towards our driveway.
Yeah.
So it's no big deal in that respect. But yeah, your point about having one down the middle for the movie theatre and all that with a kid and things. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Cool. Yeah. Bruce, you? Yeah. Sally?
My only feedback with regards to having it in the middle of the street is, with regards to wheelchairs and things, is so long as there is a very close access to get onto the footpath.
Yeah.
So without actually observing it and having a look, that is the difficulty with a wheelchair or, you know,
Yeah,
as
so-
the curbing.
Yeah, and
Well,
that's
the RSA
something,
might, but the middle of the street may not. So
yeah,
that's,
that is something that they've
feedback.
been talking about, and to make sure that,
Yeah.
and that there's enough width, because I believe there are some that aren't quite wide enough, so they're very tight for a disabled car park. Yeah, yeah. So that's been followed through.
The other thing that's interesting is whether your vehicle is side loading or back loading, you know, with regards to the wheelchair access and all that
that's
sort of
true
stuff. So,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, you can only do your best, can't you? Yeah. Jill, did you have any comment on whether we add an extra one or not?
No, I think it's great because on the actual Alexander Street, there's not many disabled parking. It's behind the shops or, you know, there's
I've never
senior
actually
car
counted,
parking, but
but-
there's actually not
A lot.
a lot at all on our street. So
Yeah.
it'd be good to have, yeah.
Cool. No, that's great. I'll let Rachel know.
Yeah.
And then my other one was in regard to, there are 3 car parks. This was so in some feedback that I got from people in regard to the suggestion that we had a short-term car park outside the mailbox. And the idea was just so people could quickly stop and post a letter. It wasn't so people could stop and go into Paper Plus to get the stamp to post the letter. If they want to do that, they can park in the Paper Plus car park, because there's always plenty of parks. So what ended up happening, as you'll see here, was that there were 3 30-minute car parks. So again, I have mentioned this to Rachel, but the people I spoke to would prefer that there was a car park there for 10 minutes that was just one car park to pull in, post your letter and beggar off. Because 3 car parks are cramping the style of the people going to lunch at Robert Harris that that aren't up to walking a long way. And so those 3 parks, actually leaving a couple of them as normal parks for the lunch people. And we've got Red Kitchen and Robert Harris and the Indian shop and the pub. So we've got a number of places, eating places just right there. Subway, that actually it would probably be better. So again, if you guys support that, I can feed that back and say, look, we hear what you're saying, but can we just have 1 10-minute park, and we'll revert the others back to being 2 hours, the same as the others, because anyone that needs to go to Paper Plus can park in the car park.
Yep.
Is everybody happy with that? Okay, sweet. I will make that so. Cool, thank you. So they're getting on to the loading zone, so really appreciate that. We've mentioned about the pedestrian crossing being faded, so they're going to look at it and arrange a remarking. You'll see, I'm kind of a bit sad about this, but I appreciate the cost in regard to that safety barrier out on Flat Road. Yeah, it's not a good corner, but I see here that there's a few issues there. So we might have to sit on it, but, you know, like a couple of people have been killed on that corner, and
Yeah, but on the other side of the road.
at this stage,
Yeah, but it's a sweeping corner. It is on the inside.
yeah.
And you've got to look at all the service.
Yeah, so
delivery.
it is.
That's the key issue there. We've
yeah.
got pipes, we've got cable, we've got a lot to move.
So, yeah. No, so we might just have to go back to the Kiki people and say, look, at this point, it's quite a major. Yeah, so alternatives. Maybe we can have a look and see what alternatives might be able to be. You know, like what about the chicken wire, the cuddy wire things, because they're not so deep.
If you do what they do in the streets, you have a little concrete barrier, but that's all you can really do, because you've got to allow something to get up.
Yeah.
I reckon if we painted Waratahs in a rainbow colour, we'd get away with that
Now. We've passed on the cul-de-sacs and they've said they're having a look at those, so that's great. And a big thank you, which I've already made, and also so did John, in regard to taking that, trimming the sides off the gazebo for the meantime, because it really was starting to be a health and safety hazard, in addition to looking just awful at our front gate there. So thank you to the staff for answering all those questions that we had there. And yeah, I don't think there was anything further there. So unless anyone else has got anything further, so I need to let Rachel know that we support the, what do you call those things? Disabled car parks.
Yeah, a disability car park.
What's the difference?
Yeah, two disabilities.
I'm sure we've got no more in Main Street.
Go have a look for me, yes, please. And the CBD mailbox, please. 2, not 3, and third one, 10 minutes. Yeah. Pardon me. Okay, so can we please move that the Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board agrees to amend Resolution 6/24/46 passed on the 25th of September 2024, which allocated $1,500 plus GST for the repair of the Awamutu entrance sign, to allocate $321.52 plus GST from that $1,500 to pay the cost of cleaning the entrance sign.
It's the first one.
We're going to do them separately. Oops. Okay. So Jill, second, Sally, all in favour? Against? Carried. Right. And then secondly, that we receive my report, so from Angela Holt, Chairperson, Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board, titled Chairperson's Report, March 2025, and B, receive the staff responses to the Chairperson's report. Can I have someone to move that? John, second. Jill, all in favour? Against? Carried. Okie dokie. Board members' reports. Where have you been and what have you been doing? Jill.
Okay, so at our last community board meeting, we had a member of the public come in and talk about the fair old cats and kihikihi.
Cats and kiki, oh yeah.
And I was given the job of just chasing that up a little bit. So, so the member of the public who came in said that in Ruapehu and Whangarei, they had, the councils there had a bylaw.
Yeah.
So I actually spoke to both councils. And the reason we found out it was those two councils they are the only two councils in New Zealand that have a bylaw.
Oh, okay.
Their bylaws are quite good. They work with their local SPCAs and they've got something in there very basic, but written things like cats over 6 months old must be chipped and there's no more than 4 cats per property, which were the main things that they had. And they said for them it's working really well, and that they can ring the SPCA if they've got problems. The Waipa District Council has no guidelines at all on cats. It just says if you've got cats that are bothering you, ring the SPCA. So in Te Awamutu, you cannot ring the SPCA, you can ring the one in Hamilton. So I rang the one in Hamilton and they actually, I told them that I was going to talk at the meeting tonight and they said, would I mention 2 things? And one is if you have stray cats, don't feed them because they're always going to come back looking for food. And the second thing is that they are very limited with all the animals they get, especially lots of dogs and cats. But they said if there's a health problem, or there's a cat that's injured, do ring the SPCA and they will help with a sick or injured cat. They're not going to help with lots of stray cats because they just don't have the facility to do that. But they wanted to make that quite clear for people to know that. Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to mention is Ange and I had attended the Memorial Park Committee meeting where Dan Fitzgerald, the owner of Mitre 10, was very willing to help with the park benches, to replace bolts and screws, timber, paint, whatever he could do. When we had the committee meeting, Brad mentioned that there was money in the budget and they would not be needing Dan's help at this stage. And so it was suggested that Sally Sheedy and I went and talked to Dan at the owner of Mitre 10. So we went and talked to him last week and thanked him very humbly for his kind donation. He'd seen a report that Ange had put in the paper that we were keen to get some help to replace those seats, to get them done. And so he had approached Ange. And so with a meeting with Sally and Dan, Sally did thank him for his offer, but said declining it. But he also said that if the community board have got some projects coming up, then he's more than happy for us to approach him and to be able to support us. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I really appreciate that. Thanks, Jill. Anyone else got things that they've been up to? Okay, these very important family things.
I'll mention tomorrow, 8 o'clock, down at the bridge, the town bridge, please. Everybody meet. Okay, so that's all really tomorrow. As I say, most of these things have been mentioned. Just today we passed that all the voting papers that go out are going to have random names. The names will be put randomly.
Right.
Okay, so we passed that today, which I think is just a basic thing that we are certainly doing. The LTP is still going to be passed. I'm chair now of the regional committee for civil events.
Oh, congratulations.
That's quite a big job. We had a presentation, and I think the community board should really look at this one. Is that Waikato University is making an application of trying to ascertain support for training doctors in Waikato University. I'm very, very keen on this. My personal and my commitment to do is that we will see a lot more resilience in our area. The committing of doing 120 GPs. Oh, sorry. Should I do that? Yeah, 120 GPs per year locally, and a lot of these will be training. They only do 4 years, and in the second year they'll be out here in our medical centres and that operating and being able to work. I look at that as a good thing for resilience for us. In case we have an emergency, we'll have more people medically trained that are available to our community. Okay, so that will leave that.
Lou, just a quick question. How do you see the community board being able to be involved with that?
All you do is all you have to do is make a submission to the people that are, a submission to the board, yeah.
To what?
Individually.
To the
Just do it,
DHB?
Yeah, just do it. We're doing certainly.
But is that something that as a community board?
I don't know whether the community board does, but you can support it to the Waipaia District Council. There's no problem with that. I'm just mentioning it, so you know about it.
Or basically as individuals, you could do
Do
the
it
same
even as
thing.
individuals.
Yeah,
Cool.
it is short tracking it, like to get if you've got an existing degree, you can then get onto the system. They just want to make it shorter, more, not you have to go to Otago or Auckland, 2 places. So,
and this will mean that people from Te Awamutu College and the people that are going to Te Kuiri, whatever, will have far more chance of getting into the system. Currently, they don't. So it really does work in our favour quite a bit.
They actually do if they're rural, but not if they live in town. But anyway, I just know that because I have a.
Senior policy has been, I've been held up a lot by Cambridge, but we're working on our seniors policy. And I'm going to present that to Steph in a week or two, because we've got sick of waiting for Cambridge to do anything or activate anything. But we've actually trying to just revamp and enhance the existing policy and carry on.
Yeah, because there's quite a lot of wording in that that's kind of quite ambiguous and quite fluffy and doesn't, and there's things that aren't actually council's responsibility and a few things like that, aren't there? I thought in it.
Yeah.
Must go back and look at that.
And other than that, we did pass, of course, and we all know that out for submission at the moment is Waikato Water's done well. Everyone knows that, but that's out. So we all have encourage everyone to go and put submissions in.
It's out.
Yeah, it's coming out.
No, it's not.
Not yet. It is coming out. It's passed.
No, I was going to say eight. I thought
Waikato Water's done well.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it is.
I'm like, I was just looking at have you're saying there's nothing about the water on there, so.
No, but the Waikato's water was passed at our last meeting.
Oh, right.
We moved
okay.
out.
We were going to lead the process, basically, us and what is it, Waitoma, Matamata-Piaka, Oklahoma, and all, and only Hamilton and Waikato be by themselves. And say in 10 or 15 years, who knows, 20 years, we'll all be one.
Yeah.
But just starting the process, really. The other councils, I don't think, made that decision, which we've decided that's what we want to do.
Cool. No.
Yeah.
No, so I did just want to ask you. So councillors made their preferred decision, right? Yep. And then as the community, we are just having the opportunity to say whether we do support that decision. Have I got that right from what I've read?
Pretty much.
It's not so much a.
It's a discussion document, though.
It's still, okay. Yeah, it's not so much a consultation, it's more of a, do you support what we've done, but it's already done.
That's right. It feels like we steered down a
So the
path.
question is, do you agree with our preferred option?
Oh, yeah.
It's
That's what I thought it would look like. Yeah, cool, thanks. So it's going to be, do you agree or not?
I think the only thing I finish up on, we had a very good report from Rail.
From
the regional airport.
Oh.
And CoLab and all that today, but the regional airport enhanced now with all quotes, the travelling to outside the terminal will be actually activated, and it's in June, 2 flights, isn't it? Early June.
Oh, the Australian flights?
Australia to Gold Coast and to Sydney.
Yeah. Oh, I hope they're cheap, because otherwise I can't afford them. I'll still drive to Auckland. 189.
The opening specials are good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Maybe I better go to Melbourne and see my brother. All right. Anyway, I'm not meant to be getting
So
sidetracked.
they're setting up that airport, and we all saw those photos of them dropping the X-ray machines through the roof. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, no.
They closed the airport one night and they took all night and they just banged it all in, so it's all in there. And as Mark Morgan said today, that it'll help the internal jets, if jets want to go from here to wherever, Christchurch, or all that process will be in place in the future. That's not happening yet. They just want to get the system running ahead. They've got it all planned, but they want to get these two routes going before they go anywhere else.
Oh, cool.
So
Oh, no, that's good.
We'll enhance it a lot.
Yep. But, oh, yeah, because it's just Sydney and Gold Coast for the meantime, eh? Oh.
He said it'd be guaranteed to be like 60,000 travellers a year come through.
Oh, that's
I
good.
thought it was 100, but maybe he just pulled it back a bit.
Got to start somewhere. No, that sounds good. So is there anything extra
Oh,
from
we
you,
just
Bruce,
had,
for
we had
council?
reports from Hamilton and Waikato Tourism today, 6-monthly reports, which are normal. And Mangatautari Island Trust gave as a report as of the 31st of January, but basically they've had that government help recently, spread over 3 years, but they're still struggling. Yeah, it's
Sorry,
quite-
who was that? What trust?
Mangatautari.
Oh,
But they're doing all right.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's still a battle.
yeah. It's a shame,
is-
though,
which
because
is a
it's such a
shame.
good thing.
Yeah, they were even talking about cutting, whatever they have to do.
Mm.
in
And they've
the
got
future,
some neat
staff and-
ideas, like the, sponsoring the birds and stuff. Actually, I must get my butt into gear and go and do that. Like you can sponsor a bird, and depending on how much you can afford, I thought that was such a cool idea. It's a shame it's not maybe a bit better publicised, but like if you haven't got a lot of money, you can sponsor a Waka Waka. If you've got more money, you can sponsor a kiwi. It was quite neat. Yeah. Yeah, depending on the bird and depending on where it's sat in the scheme of things as to how much your donation could be. I thought it was a really novel way of doing it. Sorry, Bruce, I interrupted to go on my bird bender.
That's all right. I'm good. Thank you.
That's John.
We started back at the Alpha. Knock
Cool.
some windows out, put a new wall up.
Great.
Things. So it's just one of those things. When Bill's got some money, he rings up and says, "You can
Can I
carry
have some
on."
help?
Yep. And he had a meeting there with some of his whānau the other day. So he was during a meeting. So it was nice to see the place getting used. People turn up. "We've got a meeting here." No, we're just the bloody maintenance people.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good then. Great, thank you. So Kane and I went out to the Kekapuku Mountain Restoration Open Day. And that was really neat to catch up with those guys and have a bit of a chat about how they're going out there and some of the work that they're doing. They're certainly catching a lot of pests up on the mountain. Colin has his truck that he whips around, and I did just want to mention that it blew me away that hedgehogs are the most prolific pest on the mountain by a considerable amount. I did write it down on something, but I can't remember where I wrote it now. But it's something like 800 hedgehogs, and then the next were the rats, and I want to say they were 500 or less. It was amazing. I just couldn't believe it. I would have thought, like rats would have been by far the main pest, but it was the blimmin' hedgehogs. So, and then the following Sunday, I went up there with them to have another crack at the wattles. And as part of that, they asked, and I need to follow up to see if we can get permission to use a drone up there in July so that we can see where the flowering trees are, because the wattles have these very bright yellow flowers that make them easy to see. Because now, from speaking from experience, you go into the bush and it's pretty thick off the track. I mean, you can get through, but these little wattles, the little blighters, you're standing there looking and you're like, oh no, there's no wattles here. And then you go, oh, there's one. There's another one, another. Oh, and there's one actually that's this big. They kind of blend in pretty well, and you've got to really have your wattle eyes on to find them. And there's still a few bigger ones in there and things. So, but they're definitely getting on top of it. The other thing that they commented about as an anecdotal support of what Sally's saying is the digger has been up there this year and cleaned out some of the water tables, but they've dug them out and plopped the dirt on the track in a amount. There's places where Colin commented and said, I offered to provide a bit of expertise as someone that's up and down there all the time in all sorts of weather, to be able to say to the digger driver, you need to, do this, this or this, but he knew nothing of it, gets up there and goes, oh, well, that was a waste of time, or that could have been done like this. The dirt could have been spread out and levelled. He also made the comment that there's a bit where the digger could have just taken a piece of the hill off and they wouldn't have needed to have even put in the set of stairs that were there. So that was a perfect example of using a little bit of local knowledge that was offered that could have made a better job of the job that was done. With no disrespect to the driver, he did what he thought was best, but he's up there in the dry and he doesn't see how it all runs. So in addition to that, because of what was done, a bunch of them have gone up the mountain and dug a whole lot. I don't know if anyone's been up there recently, but there's a whole lot of little drains that run across the track in at least a dozen places. And so a half a dozen of them did it. It was something like 180 volunteer hours to do that. And then they regularly go back and just clear them out to make sure they're not getting blocked because the way that the water table was dug out isn't allowing for enough water to stay off the track. But we're very fortunate to have such a wonderful, proactive group out there looking after our monga. So yeah, they're doing a great job. I caught up with Shane from the Chamber. Their main focus at the moment is, of course, to carry on with their events and their things, but they are closely looking at that economic strategy that's coming out, and I'm pretty sure they've got a bit of feedback on that. And I believe they have a council meeting tomorrow.
We've got it, that's at Fahrenheit.
At Fahrenheit, yes.
Fahrenheit.
Sorry, not here. Yes,
Is
yes.
it-
Sorry, sorry.
10 to 11, I think it is.
Yeah.
10 o'clock to 11.
So if anyone's interested in getting along to that, if I'm not busy, I'm going to try and pop down and just have a listen. So that was the two things. I haven't caught up with Lisa or with Steph at this stage, so I'll follow up again with both of them. But I know they have been incredibly busy, so I just backed off a little bit, but I'll get back in touch with them. In my report, I forgot about the Anzac wreath. I just wanted to make sure that council do provide that wreath, but just that we were happy for that to happen and us to provide a wreath and for us to lay that on Anzac Day. If anyone wants to join me, you're very welcome. Just let me know and I'll meet you there. John's usually there making sure our orders are on the thing, but if anyone wants to come along, be happy to have you join us. So that's me. I think. And apologies to those of you that weren't able to make our little strategic catch-up planning meeting, that I haven't got those notes out to you. I will endeavour to get my A into G and get that done. It's actually not much, but I just need to get back and type it up for you. So, and send you out a couple of other little bits and pieces, what I've sent through to SPMP as well. And my computer's decided to turn itself off. But if that's all of our board, I'm coming to that because of Easter.
Easter and Anzac Day.
Yeah. So let's move to the date of the next meeting, which is item 11. So you'll see there that the next Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board meeting is to be held at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, the 16th of April. You will recall that we had been sent out all of our dates that we all approved. No one said, no, let's make it after Easter. So it was put there because of Easter. So it is going to make it pretty tight from now till then. So if anyone's got anything that they want me to put into a chair report, please tell me like ASAP, because I presume that if there's one you want that on Monday. I was thinking that when I was so that's that. If there's nothing further, we will do the karakia whakamutanga. Oh, John.
Poppy Day is the 11th of April.
Poppy Day.
Friday before Easter.
Oh, to buy the poppies.
Easter's the 20th.
You mean?
You buy Poppy
Yeah.
Day. Yeah.
Friday the 11th.
Yeah.
The crosses are going out too.
The cemetery cross is going on the 10th. The Anzac Green goes out on the 16th.
16th, yeah.
We'll mark it out on the 15th, but the big cross is out on the 16th.
Okay, thank you.
You'll be able to see them there when you come to your community board.
Oh, yeah.
Not straight you go.
Yeah, we can blind.
Right, all good? Okay.
He's got a plan with him.
Okay, we ready? So the karakia whakamutanga kua mutu a mātou mahi mō tēnei wā mana kitia mai mātou katoa o mātou hoa o mātou whānau. Ai o ki te aorangi. Our work has finished for the time being. protect us all, our friends, our family, and peace to the universe. So we are closing at